My 29 female ex-husband, Carter, 27 male, and I divorced almost 4 years ago. He divorced me. I was blindsided because I thought we had a very happy marriage. Unfortunately, this year, I was in a hit and run and was hospitalized. My insurance didn't cover much, and they never found out who did it. I drained my savings. I couldn't live in my apartment anymore since I could no longer physically walk up 5 flights of stairs. I had a job but was let go. I was struggling, and it was a low point in my life. Carter and I hadn't kept in touch, but he contacted me and said I could live in one of his spare rooms. I had no other options. I offered to pay him rent, but he refused. He has a maid for chores. I cook for him sometimes. It's okay. He's very chatty and bubbly. If I close my eyes, I can pretend we're friends again and that we never took the leap into a relationship and a divorce. My childhood friend, Claire, called to sympathize with me about not finding a place. I told her that I was living with Carter. She insisted on coming over, as she had also been friends with him and had refused to take a side. When she arrived, Claire started to talk about how this was a bad situation. She asked me if I paid rent, and I told her no. She said his pity would end and asked if I wanted to be a beggar for the rest of my life. I told her I wasn't a beggar, and she said she would tell our friends. I pleaded with her not to. Claire then said that if I didn't think my actions were wrong, I wouldn't have cared if she told everyone. I feel ashamed. I've been avoiding her. She called me yesterday and said I was being childish and emotionally manipulative for behaving that way. Am I the idiot? What the heck is up with Claire? Is she screwing your husband? This witch didn't take your side in the divorce, but now's concerned that you're taking advantage of your ex? Something is up here. Not the idiot. He offered, and you have little options. Block her and anyone who agrees with her. This is between you and Carter, no one else. Just do your best to get on your feet again. Claire thrives on being perfect and right. It's a terrible quality. Claire pretends to come over to help, but instead openly judges, instills fear in those who need compassion, threatens to blackmail you socially, and offers zero practical help on her suggested roadmap. Claire is gross. Do not let her put fear inside of you. Carter is happy you're around, and things will work out for you. Stop interacting with Claire ASAP. She offers you nothing, but you offer her a chance to look down on someone, the opportunity to be superior, etc., etc. That's not friendship. She would never risk her marriage. She's smart and intelligent. Claire's family's always paid her rent, and she has a trust fund that'll run out 2 or 3 generations after her. She thinks Carter's handsome, but flaky and not her type. She considers him a good friend because they run in the same social circles. I was friends with her first, but I can't fit in with wealthier people like them. She always told me that Carter and I wouldn't stay married because he'd get bored of me. And she wasn't wrong, but she could have supported me instead of being neutral. Carter is very kind, and I sometimes feel guilty for my complicated feelings. He wants to chat a lot, and I feel obligated to spend time with him because he's doing this kindness. He has a lot of friends, but he seems lonely. He cries in his sleep sometimes, which he never used to do. He doesn't like to be alone. There's a part of me that still loves him, and he keeps poking those parts of my heart. So then be his friend, and don't feel guilty. He offered and you accepted. No begging, no mooching. He's just being kind and a good friend. Are you sure Claire or some of your so-called friends didn't make up some outrageous lies about you and fed them to Carter? Did he tell you why he wanted a divorce? Claire said that he wouldn't stay married to you. Then he divorced you out of nowhere. But now he's the only one who helps you, and he still seeks emotional intimacy and cries in his sleep. I've read too many novels, but it appears suspicious by what you're writing here. I think she might be the reason he divorced you. She's an overprivileged, complacent woman with a superiority complex. One day life will kick her, and she'll learn some empathy and humility. I wonder if she's afraid you two might get close and end up back together, and her secrets come out. It's the only reason I can see that she's making such a big deal out of this. Cut her out entirely. She has no empathy and isn't a friend. I'll keep this short. My brother-in-law, my sister's husband, has a truck. My husband and I were moving some furniture. About a week ago, we asked if he could help us or let us borrow the truck to move it. He said sure, and I went to pick up the truck yesterday. I get there and he asked where my husband was. I told him he was at home since he was moving the stuff to the driveway with a friend. I was heading over to the truck when he told me he couldn't give me the keys. I asked why, and he tells me I couldn't handle it. I asked if he was joking, and he just reiterated that I can't handle the truck. I told him I didn't know I needed some idiot to drive a truck, and left. I informed my husband of the situation, and it has spread. He called me angry, and we got into a big argument. He thinks I was a jerk since it is his truck. My sister is on his side, so I'm doubting myself. Also, I am a good driver, and I haven't had any crashes or tickets. He's never complained about my driving. I've driven larger vehicles before. So am I the idiot? Good grief, not the idiot. Unless the truck is a stick shift and you don't know how to drive a stick shift, nothing is at play here other than misogyny. I'd make can't handle it jokes at him for the rest of my life. With an ego that fragile, I'd put money on him losing it after the first joke. OP, can you pass me the potatoes? Well, I would, but I don't think you could handle it. What does that even mean, if not to be a misogynistic dig? He's clearly the idiot, and I'm glad you made a simple remark to reflect this and then left. And brother-in-law thinks you could have been nicer? Thank you for degrading me. Perhaps my tiny woman brain shall bake some cookies and clean your house as an apology for my lack of genitalia. LMAO, that's ridiculous. He can do what he wants with his truck, but he already agreed that you guys could borrow it. So his backing out shows his misogyny. Hope your husband is supporting you. I would let it go, knowing better how your brother-in-law considers women. If you're close to your sister, having a good sit-down conversation might be good. She probably internalizes a lot of misogyny if her husband treats her like that. We had new neighbors move in a while ago. Up until this point, I had no issues with them. They're a young couple with no kids and a large dog that barks no more or less than any other dog. About a week ago, they started painting the fence between our properties. I happen to know the fence is on my property, so they had no right to paint it. I went back and forth on whether I should say or do anything. At first, I thought it wasn't such a big deal. They were only painting the side facing their lot. However, as it turned out, they were doing that in preparation for painting their house pink. The rest of the houses in this neighborhood are regular house colors, gray, white, tan. It looks god-awful. This just didn't sit well with me, so I went over and told them that the fence they painted was actually my fence on my property. They were slack-jawed and mumbled, "Okay." So I said, "You'll fix it, right?" They said they didn't know how and asked if it was really that big of a deal. I told them, fine, why not just let me come into their property and mess around with their things? Then they asked me why I didn't say something before they were finished, and I told them that it wasn't my job to do their research for them. They should have known better when they got the land survey done at inspection. They said they waived inspection, which again, it's not my fault. They asked how they could fix this and keep the fence the color they'd chosen, as it would mean one side of the fence wouldn't match the others. I said, tough crap. It's not my problem. I told them I would be kind and give them the weekend to fix the fence. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Yes, you should have told them why they were painting it. Why didn't you? Well, as you yourself say, maybe it wasn't such a big deal. Seems the real issue is the color of the house. That's when you started complaining, saying things like, they should have researched, and tough crap, and giving them until the weekend to fix it. You sound really punitive and unforgiving. Are you like this with your other neighbors? I wonder what they really think about you. I suspect OP will realize they don't have the power they think they do. If I were the neighbor and OP told me I had until the weekend to fix it, I would tell them to get lost. OP chose not to say anything before or during. Now it's done on my time and at my cost, and they'll be a jerk about it? Enjoy your pink fence, buddy, or repaint it yourself, because I'm not fixing crap. Am I reading it wrong? I thought the fence color was fine. It's the house color he doesn't like. So he's making them redo the fence for no reason except to be an idiot. Also, a land survey is not part of the inspection process. So what are you on about? I hope they do get a land survey done now, because I can basically guarantee that your claim that the fence is on your property is BS. I really hope this is true. My dad had a neighbor who would scream at him every time he trimmed the bushes that she planted on his property because they scratched his car when he pulled into the driveway. One day he got sick of it and cut the bushes down entirely. She called the police on him. The police were basically like, "Why are we even here?" but ended up giving her a fine because her sidewalk was damaged and hazardous to other people. My dad gets into stupid, pointless fights, but man, I loved him in this moment. I, 58 female, have one daughter, Clara, 28. Clara never went to university because she said it wasn't for her and that it would be a waste of money. Clara's now engaged. She told me she wants to go to university before they have kids, so she has a backup plan if something goes wrong and she's left with nothing. She said her plan is to go to university for 3 years. We live in the UK, to study psychology. Then she'll have kids and be a stay-at-home mom immediately after she graduates and use her degree if she ever needs to. I asked why psychology, and she said it seemed like the easier degree to make a career out of. The problem here is she wants me to pay for it. I'm about to retire, and I don't want to pay for her degree that she likely won't ever use. I'm also skeptical about how valuable a degree will be for her if she has no experience working in that industry and got the degree long before she has to use it. I told her I'm not rich enough to pay for a degree that likely won't be used, and she should have a conversation with her fiancé about what they'll do if they split up after she's been a stay-at-home mom. I even suggested that she and her fiancé pay for it together, but she said they'll need to save all their money for having kids in the next few years. I said I needed to keep my money for my retirement and not waste it on a degree she doesn't plan to use or has a passion for. She said I was being unfair to her and that I should be worried about her being left destitute if her fiancé left her one day. I said she should be putting all the money she makes now into an account for herself and creating savings or investments in case anything happens, instead of making me spend thousands of pounds on a degree she probably won't ever use. She told me not to expect her to have me as part of her family anymore when I don't care about her future. Am I the idiot? Edit. She worked odd jobs for the first few years, and she's been a yoga instructor since she was 22. Honey, no. That ship has sailed. I'm saving so you don't have to fund my retirement. If I funded your college, I would require a payback contract. You're 28. It's time to grow up. I love you. She is 28, old enough to have gone to school and graduated, old enough to have a stable job and save, old enough to be considered an adult. There is no reason for you to pay for her choices. Your priority is you. Do not pay. You are not the idiot. She is. Yeah, I wonder what her fiancé thinks. They haven't gotten married, and she already anticipates him leaving her. She's almost 30. Her demand is unreasonable, and the fact that she's threatened to cut you out if you don't give in paints her as very manipulative. Do not cave. She's being ridiculous. She'll change her mind when she needs free childcare from grandma. OP, a bachelor's in psychology, is completely worthless. The only thing that would be more worthless is a 10-year-old psych degree without experience or continuing education. No wonder she doesn't want to use her own money for her degree. She knows it'll be a waste of money. Just curious, who does she expect to pay for the wedding? My husband has a teen daughter, Mia, from a previous relationship. She lives with us part-time and has recently started dating around. We haven't always gotten along the best, but I love her like my own regardless. This past weekend, Mia was going on a movie date with a new boy that she said would end at around 9 p.m. My husband was at work at the time. He's a first responder, and his hours and flexibility are a bit uncertain. However, he was aware of the date and was pretty sure he'd be able to pick her up, so that was the plan. I'm in my 3rd trimester of a rough pregnancy and was placed on bed rest by my doctor. I would not be able to pick her up. Here's where the dilemma arises. At around 8:15 p.m., Mia called asking if her dad could pick her up now because her date made her uncomfortable. I was concerned for her, but I felt stuck. I explained the situation to her. I was on bed rest and couldn't drive, and her dad was still at work and couldn't leave yet. We don't have any real family that lives nearby, and I didn't want her spending another 45 minutes with this idiot boy. So I asked a neighbor if they could pick her up. They did. My husband and Mia are both upset with how I handled the situation. They seem to think I have some resentment because she's my stepdaughter, which is not the case at all. They said that I should have acted more urgently because we don't know this boy very well, and he could have hurt her. They think that I should have just violated my bed rest order and went because it's a short drive and doesn't require much movement. I feel like I did my best, considering my physical limitations. Am I the idiot? Mia calls for a ride to get away from her date, gets a ride away from her date, and is now upset that she checks notes. Got a ride to get away from her date? Yeah, you can pretty safely ignore that crap. Not the idiot. You found a way for her to get home sooner than planned. I can see why your daughter's upset, because she's young enough not to fully understand how serious bed rest is, plus a teenager who had a challenging experience. However, your husband is an adult and a first responder, so he has zero excuses for this nonsense. Also, what was his plan if he got held at work and couldn't pick her up? A backup should have been ready to go since you're on bed rest. This is my take as well. As a first responder, he should understand the importance of bed rest and the medical complications that could occur if something happened while you were out picking up the older daughter. Why risk it when there are alternative measures? How about telling her to plan a date when he's off next time? Sucks, but if he wants to control things, he must be ready for all of it. A pregnant woman on bed rest who's out driving is a recipe for disaster. Oh, come on. I was on bed rest, and my husband, a computer guy, understood exactly what that meant and why. Most decent husbands whose wives are on bed rest are scared stiff that if they violate the bed rest, they'll go into preterm labor. It could end up very badly for the mother and the baby. They're very protective and have a backup plan if they can't do their assigned job. OP, your husband, is the idiot, and his daughter may be worried that she'll be less important when the new baby comes. He just reinforced those possible worries by not having any backup plan.